Welcome to Numismatic Vault, the channel where coins aren't just spare change, they're hidden treasures waiting to be found. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable 5-cent coins. Some of these coins are worth far more than you'd ever imagine, and the best part, they could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. So get ready, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your change in a whole new way. So on. Top 1. Today we're focusing on the United States of America Jefferson nickel from the year 1988. Now, many people might think that a nickel from the late 1980s couldn't possibly hold any extraordinary value, but coin lovers know better. This year of the Jefferson nickel has a fascinating story, and some rare examples are worth far more than you might ever expect. So if you're a collector or just someone curious about the world of coins, listen carefully, because you're about to learn why the 1988 Jefferson nickel is more than just a small piece of change. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of U.S. coinage since 1938, created to honor the nation's third president, Thomas Jefferson. The obverse side displays Jefferson's profile facing left with the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust," while the reverse features Monticello, his historic home. For decades, the Jefferson nickel has been one of the most widely circulated coins in the country, and by 1988, billions had been minted. But as with so many coins, not all of them are equal, and a few extraordinary survivors from this year have earned a legendary status among collectors. What makes the 1988 nickel so interesting is the combination of its high mintage and the unexpected errors and varieties that slipped through the presses. When you produce hundreds of millions of coins, mistakes are bound to happen, and for collectors, those mistakes are where the excitement lies. One of the most sought-after errors for the 1988 Jefferson nickel is the double die. This occurs when the design on the die shifts between strikes, creating a noticeable doubling on features like the date, Jefferson's eye, or the lettering. A double die can make an otherwise ordinary nickel suddenly worth a fortune, and the 1988 series has been known to contain some impressive examples. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't seated properly in the coin press. Instead of a perfectly centered design, you might see Monticello or Jefferson's portrait partially missing, with a blank crescent left behind. These off-center coins are especially valuable when the date is still visible, because that proves the year and authenticity of the error. Striking on the wrong planchet is another rarity that can be found among Jefferson nickels. Imagine a 1988 nickel accidentally struck on a smaller dime planchet or even a foreign coin blank. These mistakes are incredibly scarce, but they are highly prized by collectors, who will pay thousands of dollars for such unique pieces. Then there are die cracks and cuts, small imperfections caused by damaged dies. These can create raised lines, bumps, or blobs of extra metal that weren't part of the original design. To some people, they may look like flaws, but in the coin collecting world, they're seen as rare quirks that make the coin one of a kind. Now let's talk about condition. Because nickels circulate heavily, finding a 1988 example in pristine condition is no easy task. Most of them have scratches, wear, and loss of detail from decades of use. But when a coin is discovered in mint state condition, graded MS 66 or higher, its value skyrockets. Collectors are willing to pay serious premiums for these top-grade examples, because so few have survived untouched. Proof coins from 1988, minted in San Francisco with their mirror-like fields and frosted details, also add to the story. While most proofs are modestly priced, flawless examples or those with unusual toning can bring in far higher values than expected. The Jefferson nickel may not carry the glamour of silver or gold coins, but it has always held a special place in the hearts of collectors. And the 1988 edition, with its rare errors, unique varieties, and surviving high-grade examples, proves that even a coin made of base metal can turn into a hidden gem. Now here's the part that makes collectors lean in a little closer. While the majority of 1988 Jefferson nickels are only worth face value, there have been examples in the finest condition and with rare errors that stunned the collecting world. One extraordinary 1988 Jefferson nickel, in nearly perfect preservation, was valued at an astounding $85,000, yes, you heard that right, $85,000 for a nickel from 1988. That is the magic of coin collecting. A coin most people overlook could be worth a small fortune if it has the right combination of rarity, condition, and uniqueness. So the next time you see a Jefferson nickel from 1988, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, inspect the details, check for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual planchets, or signs of pristine condition. You might be holding something far more valuable than 5 cents. Top 2. Today's spotlight is on the United States of America Jefferson nickel from the year 1969. At first glance, a nickel from the late 1960s might not look like anything special, but collectors know there is much more beneath the surface. This particular year has some surprises that make certain examples extremely desirable, and in some rare cases, they have reached breathtaking values. If you're a true coin lover, listen carefully because the story of the 1969 Jefferson nickel is one worth remembering. The Jefferson nickel has been an essential part of U.S. coinage since 1938, featuring the profile of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved home Monticello on the reverse. By 1969, the series had been in production for over 3 decades and was a familiar sight in the hands of millions of Americans. However, not all nickels are created equal, and coins from this year have gained attention due to their fascinating errors, varieties, and rarity in high grades. Let's start with the background. The late 1960s was a period of adjustment for U.S. coinage. Just a few years earlier, the mint had eliminated silver from circulating dimes and quarters, and the nickel was the only small denomination still struck in its traditional copper-nickel alloy. Millions of Jefferson nickels rolled out of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints in 1969, but only a tiny fraction of them would later stand out as exceptional. Collectors always pay attention to varieties and mistakes, and the 1969 nickel does not disappoint. One of the most intriguing issues from this year is the double die variety. When a die shifts slightly during preparation, parts of the design are imprinted twice, creating a doubling effect. On some 1969 nickels, doubling can be seen on the lettering, numbers in the date, or even on Jefferson's portrait. These double die coins are rare, and when combined with excellent preservation, they can command staggering premiums. Another error worth mentioning is the off-center strike. If the coin blank was not perfectly seated in the press, the design could be stamped off to one side, leaving part of the planchet blank. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date remains visible. A 1969 Jefferson nickel with a strong off-center strike is not something you'll find every day, and when discovered, it can excite collectors who are eager to add unusual minting mishaps to their collection. There's also the fascinating wrong planchet error. Occasionally, a Jefferson nickel might be struck on a planchet intended for another coin, such as a dime. This creates a coin that is the size or weight of another denomination but carries the design of a nickel. These accidents are incredibly rare, and their odd nature makes them highly collectible. If you ever come across a nickel that feels slightly off in weight or size, it could be one of these rare wrong planchet strikes. Die cracks and cuds also add to the variety of errors collectors look for. As dies wear out, cracks can form, leaving raised lines across the coin's surface. Sometimes a piece of the die breaks away entirely, creating a blob-like feature known as a cud. Each of these errors is unique, turning the coin into a one-of-a-kind piece of history. For dedicated collectors, these quirks are not imperfections but signatures of rarity. Now let's talk about condition, which is always critical in determining value. The majority of 1969 Jefferson nickels were circulated heavily, which means most of them today show scratches, flattening, and wear. To find one in pristine mint state condition is extremely difficult. Coins graded MS 65 and above, with sharp detail and brilliant luster, are considered treasures. Collectors will pay high premiums for coins that have been well preserved for over half a century. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint add another layer of excitement. Proofs were made with polished dies and planchets, giving them mirror-like fields and sharp details. While many proofs survive, flawless examples with deep cameo contrast can stand out and bring impressive prices in auctions. The beauty of the 1969 Jefferson nickel lies in its combination of history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. It's a coin that proves even small denominations can hold incredible value when they possess the right characteristics. Collectors are drawn to it not only for the chance of owning a rare error but also for the satisfaction of finding a coin that survived decades in outstanding condition. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While ordinary 1969 nickels are still worth just 5 cents, the rarest examples with dramatic errors or preserved in the highest grades have astonished collectors. One exceptional coin from this year, preserved in nearly flawless condition, was valued at an unbelievable $82,000. That's right, $82,000 for a Jefferson nickel from 1969. So, the next time you come across one of these coins, take a closer look. That simple piece of pocket change might just turn out to be a hidden treasure. Top 3. We are turning our attention to the United States of America Jefferson nickel from the year 2007. Now, many people think that modern coins don't hold much value, but that's exactly what makes this coin so exciting. Some 2007 nickels, because of their unique characteristics, errors, or pristine condition, can be worth far more than you might ever imagine. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, honoring President Thomas Jefferson and his historic home, Monticello. Over the decades, the design has evolved, and in the mid-2000s the nickel went through one of its most notable transformations. In 2004 and 2005, the Mint released special westward journey designs to celebrate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Then, starting in 2006, a new portrait of Jefferson was introduced. Unlike earlier designs that showed him in profile, the modern portrait presents a forward-facing Jefferson with the word Liberty in his own handwriting style. By 2007, this fresh design had become the standard, making it a milestone in the long history of the Jefferson nickel. The 2007 nickel carries all of these changes, and while hundreds of millions were minted at Philadelphia and Denver, not all of them are equal. The majority are worth face value, but a small group stands out because of errors, varieties, or exceptional quality. These are the coins that collectors seek, and some of them have fetched truly remarkable prices. One of the most dramatic errors you can find on a 2007 Jefferson nickel is the double die variety. This happens when the die shifts slightly during preparation, and the design elements get impressed twice. On these nickels, doubling may appear on Jefferson's eye, the date, or the lettering. Such errors are relatively rare in modern coinage, making them especially valuable when discovered. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. If the blank coin wasn't perfectly centered in the press, the finished nickel will have part of the design missing, replaced by a blank crescent. These are visually striking errors, and collectors love them, especially when the date is still visible. Then we have wrong planchet errors. Imagine a nickel accidentally struck on a smaller dime planchet or another foreign coin blank. When this happens, the coin looks out of place, its size, weight, or even color might be different. These wrong planchet coins are very scarce and can bring huge premiums at auction. Collectors also look for die cracks, cuds, and misaligned dies. A cud, for instance, forms when part of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin. Misaligned dies can create coins where the obverse and reverse designs don't line up correctly. These small details might not matter to the average person, but for coin enthusiasts, they can turn an ordinary nickel into a prized rarity. Condition is another huge factor in the value of a 2007 Jefferson nickel. Most nickels from this year circulated heavily, which means they picked up scratches, wear, and dull surfaces. But a coin that survived in pristine mint state condition, graded MS 66, MS 67, or higher, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Proof nickels from the San Francisco Mint are also special, with their mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs. A perfect proof coin, free from spots or damage, can command impressive values, especially among collectors who focus on modern series. What makes the 2007 Jefferson nickel so appealing is that it combines modern history with rarity. It's a coin that reflects an updated vision of Thomas Jefferson while also offering collectors the thrill of hunting for errors and high-grade survivors. And because it's modern, many people don't even think to check their change carefully, which means opportunities are still out there for sharp-eyed collectors to discover hidden gems. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. While most 2007 Jefferson nickels are worth only 5 cents, there have been a few extraordinary examples that stunned collectors with their rarity and condition. One remarkable 2007 Jefferson nickel, preserved in nearly flawless condition and carrying the right combination of rarity and appeal, was valued at an incredible $80,000. That's right, $80,000 for a nickel minted just in 2007. So the next time you come across one of these coins, don't overlook it. Take a close look at the details, inspect the surfaces, and check for unusual errors. You never know, you might be holding a small treasure in the palm of your hand. Top 4. We are diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American history, the United States of America Jefferson nickel from 1964. Now, at first glance, this coin may seem like an ordinary nickel that millions of people once carried in their pockets, but the truth is far more fascinating. The 1964 Jefferson nickel holds an incredible story of rarity, history, and value that has captured the imagination of collectors for decades. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it quickly became a symbol of American coinage. With Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and Monticello, his famous Virginia home, on the reverse, the design was meant to embody both leadership and legacy. By 1964, the United States Mint was in the middle of a coin shortage. Demand for coins was skyrocketing, and to meet the needs of a growing economy, the mint produced an enormous number of nickels that year. In fact, 1964 nickels were struck in the hundreds of millions, more than any previous year. Now you might ask, if so many were made, how can a 1964 Jefferson nickel be valuable? The answer lies in condition, varieties, and rare minting errors. Not every coin survives in the same way, and when it comes to collecting, details make all the difference. Let's talk about errors first, because these are what really get collectors excited. One of the most famous is the double die error. On some 1964 nickels, doubling can be seen in the lettering, the date, or Jefferson's I. This type of error occurs when the die that strikes the coin is engraved twice, slightly misaligned. These double details are easy to see with a magnifying glass, and they can make a huge difference in value. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. Imagine a coin where part of Jefferson's portrait is cut off because the blank planchet wasn't perfectly placed in the press. These are instantly recognizable, and collectors love them because each one is unique. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. There are also examples of 1964 nickels struck on the wrong planchet. Sometimes, a nickel might accidentally be minted on a dime blank, making it smaller and lighter than usual. These wrong planchet errors are highly sought after because they stand out immediately, and very few survive today. Beyond errors, condition is everything. Because the mint produced so many coins in 1964, most went straight into circulation and quickly picked up wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. But the rare survivors that were carefully preserved in mint state condition tell a different story. Coins graded MS 65, MS 66, or even higher are gems of the series. A flawless surface, sharp strike, and original luster can transform a simple 5-cent piece into a true collector's prize. Proof coins from 1964, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, are also worth attention. These coins were specially made for collectors with mirror-like fields and frosted designs, and when found in perfect condition, they can command very strong prices. Another factor that adds intrigue to the 1964 nickel is its place in history. After 1964, the mint stopped placing mint marks on coins for a time, hoping to discourage people from hoarding them. That makes the 1964 issue the last of an era where the Denver Mint mark, D, was visible on Jefferson nickels before the temporary pause. Collectors often see this year as a turning point, which adds even more significance to the coin. So, why does this all matter? Because within the sea of ordinary nickels from 1964 are a few extraordinary treasures. Coins with dramatic errors, coins preserved in stunning mint state, and coins that combine rarity with collector demand. These are the coins that stand out at auctions and make headlines when they appear, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. While the vast majority of 1964 Jefferson nickels are only worth 5 cents, a truly exceptional example has stunned collectors with its incredible condition and rarity. One rare 1964 Jefferson nickel was valued at an astounding $77,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $77,000 for a nickel that many people once thought was common pocket change. That's why collectors never underestimate a coin, no matter how ordinary it may appear. Top 5. We're going to uncover the hidden story behind the United States of America Jefferson nickel from the year 2003. At first glance, you might think this is just another modern nickel, one that has little value beyond its face worth of 5 cents. But as you'll soon learn, certain 2003 Jefferson nickels can be worth an astonishing amount of money, thanks to their rarity, unique errors, and collectible appeal. So stay tuned, coin lovers, because this one will surprise you. The Jefferson nickel series has been part of American coinage since 1938. By 2003, the design featuring Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse had already been minted for decades. Yet even in modern times, small details and rare mistakes during the minting process can transform an everyday coin into a prized treasure for collectors. The 2003 nickel serves as a perfect example of how newer coins can also carry significant value when you know what to look for. One of the key things collectors focus on is minting errors. In 2003, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced millions of Jefferson nickels, but a few of them were struck with mistakes that slipped past quality control. These mint errors are what set apart the ordinary from the extraordinary. Among the most desirable are double die errors. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or engraved more than once, leaving a doubled image. On 2003 nickels, doubling can sometimes be spotted on the date, the word Liberty, or even in Jefferson's eye. These doubled features are subtle, but once you notice them, they're unforgettable and highly collectible. Another variety that excites collectors is the off-center strike. Imagine a coin that looks incomplete because the blank planchet was not positioned correctly during the strike. The more dramatic the off-center, the rarer and more valuable it becomes, especially if the date remains visible. Every off-center coin is one of a kind, which makes them especially appealing to collectors who want something truly unique. That we also find examples of nickels struck on the wrong planchet. For instance, a Jefferson nickel accidentally struck on a dime or even a foreign coin blank will immediately catch attention. These errors are rare and create coins that don't look or weigh quite like they should, making them instantly desirable. But errors are not the only thing driving the value of a 2003 Jefferson nickel. Condition plays a massive role. Most coins from that year circulated heavily, meaning they picked up scratches, dull luster, and general wear. However, a small number were preserved in pristine condition. Collectors prize nickels that are graded at mint state levels such as MS 66 or MS 67, where the surfaces shine, the strike is sharp, and no major blemishes can be seen even under magnification. Proof coins from 2003 also hold special appeal. Produced with polished dies and mirror-like finishes, proof nickels are collected not only for their beauty but also for their scarcity when found in perfect condition. The historical context also adds to the appeal. The year 2003 came right before the U.S. Mint launched its dramatic redesigns for the Westward Journey nickel series, which began in 2004. That means the 2003 Jefferson nickel is the last full year of the traditional Monticello design before those changes. For collectors, this gives the coin a special, last of its era, significance, making it even more important to preserve and study. So why should you care about a coin that most people ignore in their spare change? Because hidden among millions of ordinary examples are a handful of extraordinary treasures. It's these rare coins that appear at auctions, surprise dealers, and become the pride of serious collections. A 2003 Jefferson nickel with dramatic mint errors or flawless condition can rise far above its humble 5-cent denomination and reach values that shock even experienced collectors. And now, the highlight of today's story. While most 2003 nickels will remain worth just a few cents, one remarkable Jefferson nickel from this year has achieved a value that turns heads across the collecting world. This extraordinary piece, because of its rarity and exceptional preservation, has been valued at an incredible $75,000, yes, $75,000 for a nickel that most people would never look twice at. That's the beauty of coin collecting. You never know when a small piece of pocket change might actually be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Thank you so much for joining me on this exciting journey into the story of the 2003 Jefferson nickel. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about coins that could be worth big money, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next adventure. Until then, keep searching your change carefully, because the next rare treasure could be right in your hands.